like if I have a choice, if I'm going to choose to support JP Morgan Chase or Ryan O'Leary in Halifax, I'm going to choose him every day because it's a residual based income. So every customer you sign and every card that is swiped through the system, you're making 21 cents.
It really was plug and play. It could have ran itself. Ryan could have actually taken a 6-month hiatus and it would have just continued to do what it does.
The same like passion and desire I had to get that business going and to scale it through is ultimately what caused it to burn out. I reached this point where it's like, I don't think I have any more in the tank.
Hey again, and welcome to NexChapter, recorded right here in the lovely Republic studio. Think about it as the Republic for founders and entrepreneurs, where we share wisdom, have fun, and celebrate the journey, excuse me, of another entrepreneur. In fact, today is two founders that we'll get into. I am Raman Sehgal, the author of The Floundering Founder. I am also the Toronto chapter lead for Post-Exit Founders, PEF here, and I'm also the host, of course, of the show. And this show is for founders that are scaling and those who have already sold and are figuring out what to do next. And every episode covers the 3 T's: the trajectory, which are the moves that made the business worth buying; the transaction, so how the deal went down; and the transition, the reality after exit, and what is actually working now. Think about it as unfiltered wisdom from post-exit founders. And I have an absolute treat for you guys today, a husband and wife team. Can you believe it? What a great story. And I actually had the pleasure of meeting Ryan and Kristin in Miami, actually at the PEF annual conference last year. We were actually sat next to each other in the bus on the way to one of the activities. And honestly, what a fantastic, well, first and foremost, brilliant human beings. Like, there is just something very real about the both of them. But then they tell you about their business story as well. And it is super, super impressive, I have to say. And let me tell you a bit about them. So firstly, Ryan is the co-founder and former CEO at Sona. It was actually Sona Pay, but they say Sona, a Canadian merchant service company he built from scratch in Bedford, Nova Scotia in 2016. And over 8 years, he bootstrapped this value-driven business, and Sona grew to serve 5,000 merchants across Canada, and based on and processing over 18. Sorry, I got my numbers wrong there. $1 billion in annual volume and industry-leading retention rates, and a culture that's built on transparency and solution selling. And in 2024, Sona was acquired by Celero Commerce, and Ryan is now the founder of Rocco Holdings and Investments, deploying capital into fintech ventures and early stage companies. And he and his lovely wife, Kristin, are preparing to circumnavigate the globe aboard their Oyster 625 distraction in the 2028 Oyster World Rally, a dream that was literally written in their wedding vows almost 20 years ago. So we're saying as well, when the day we recorded this podcast, on the day we recorded this podcast, it was Ryan's birthday as well. So you'll get the drinks vibe very, very early on in the show. And on to his wife, Kristin, who is the co-founder, of course, and former CEO of Sona, where she built and ran the operational engine behind this fantastic business, a CAIB certified insurance broker turned entrepreneur. Kristin previously acquired and successfully exited her own business before joining Sona full time. She is the integrator to Ryan's vision, if you know the EOS stuff, the steady hand who kept the business, the family, and the mission on track throughout the 8 years of the bootstrapped growth. And she is also now, along with Ryan, steering the family's next chapter, including the global sailing in 2028. What a fantastic story. What an amazing a bunch of people. I'm so excited for you to see this show today, wherever you are in the world or wherever you're watching. Thanks so much for watching. Please maybe like the video, like and subscribe to NexChapter wherever you're viewing or listening. And if you've got any feedback on who you'd like to see on the show or how we can do things even better, then please let me know. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to the NexChapter podcast. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Thank you.
First husband and wife team. This is going to be exciting. It does feel like a therapy session, the way you sat, the environment, everyone. But I'm going to start by saying big happy birthday to you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Huge happy birthday. It's I'm so wow. We feel honored that you're here on your birthday to share this time. I'm sure Kristin's probably less happy about this, but it's all good. All right, and it is your birthday, so what are you having to drink this morning? What drink have you brought? And it better be good.
It's pretty delicious. So I mixed up some 2 Telluride flatliners. So much like an espresso martini with a little bit of a twist.
What's the twist?
The twist is it's got Bailey's as well as Kahlua, Tito's,
Oh my
of
God.
course, and espresso. Cheers.
Cheers, yeah. Happy birthday. Cheers. I'm here with my Tim Hortons tea, which is probably less exciting. So, I feel like we should just party now, given the drinks that you're having as well. I have a terrible, I can't drink Kahlua or Bailey's because when I was 17, I went to Belgium on a school trip and I remember splitting a bottle of Bailey's with this girl in my year, and I drank the whole bottle before I gave it to her, and I was sick everywhere. And the next morning we went to the next morning we went to the Stella Artois factory because it's based in Belgium. And get to the end and everyone's excited for the beer, right? We get to have a beer, and I asked for an orange juice, and they were like, "Are you okay, dude?" So anyway, I thought I'd share that story with you.
Nice.
Well, look, thanks for being here. I appreciate you making the time and what cool drinks you've got as well. Let's start by giving us a bit of an overview of the business that you built. So just give us in a nutshell, like what the business did, what sector, the types of clients, even like how the revenue worked as well. And then we'll kind of rewind back into the business. Whoever wants to go first, I'm going to let you guys make the decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both can all start it off and talk a little bit about, the business and kind of how it started and kind of what my role was. And then, Chris can obviously talk a little about, the impact that she had as well in helping us kind of scale it. So your really background is I worked in the payment processing industry for, I guess, it was about 21 years. And so, specifically in payment processing, I was in, I worked with a couple larger than multinationals like JP Chase, Fiserv, in a business development capacity. So I was originally hired as a sales representative to basically work with small business. So small and then, small to medium sized business and set them up so that they could process Visa, MasterCard, American Express, either online or in person or through integrated platform. And so I was hired as a representative here in Nova Scotia, working with small business. And it did quite well as an individual sales rep, and I really done that right until 2016. I was 44 years old. I was not a traditional risk taker. We have four kids at home, living in a small house. Kristin was working in the insurance industry. I was just doing my thing and doing very well as an individual rep. So I guess in 2016, what started to happen is we started to see technology vendors started moving into the payment space. And whereas that space was typically pretty commodity driven, like if you were talking to a small business, it was, what's your rate? Not too much to it. And in my previous life, I'd kind of worked more in electronics and and so I kind of saw an opportunity to start distributing payments more focused on the software technology and just really doing it differently. So the business started in 2016. I had been probably a year and a half kind of complaining about the industry and how I felt like it was, it had lost, like, there wasn't a lot of transparency. There was a lack of trust. It was just really a commodity business.
And did you start it together, Ryan? That you and Chris start that? Did you purposefully or did you stick in your job and I'll be the breadwinner while you give this a shot?
Honestly, Ryan just, like he said, he complained and complained about it for a few, felt like forever. Like, it honestly felt like months.
He's
and
always
months.
complaining, isn't he, Ryan? He's always complaining, yeah.
And so then he just kept complaining and saying, like, I can do things differently. I think there's a better way. And then I think it was one of our many conversations about it. And then I think it was a Friday night. And I said, like, honestly, Ryan, if you want to do this, like, I'll support you, in meaning, like, probably not financially. I wasn't making a lot of money at the time, but support you emotionally and mentally and all that. And said, like, either you stop complaining about it and, like, just keep on doing what you're doing, or do it, right?
Yeah.
So just, like, I think anything in life, if you're not happy with what you're doing, you have the keys, right? You can make changes. So it wasn't that easy, of course, but we made it work in the very beginning. So I still did work in my full-time career in insurance. And I watched him grind away, and just one guy just trying to win customers.
What was the business? Tell us about the business, and Ryan, like, what were you actually doing?
Really is payment processing. So, like, if you're a small business today and you operate in Canada, you have these choices. You could choose to work with, a Moneris or Chase or TD or what are the major banks.
Is this for online? Is this for online payments, or is this like for payments through, like,
for anything, really?
For anything, okay.
So, like, so really any business that needs to accept payments is a legitimate prospect to go see, right? So at that time in 2016, the majority of market share in the Canadian space was owned by the 5 major processors that are done with the 5 major banks. I had an opportunity to come in as an independent, where I'd work with an acquiring company that would support me and be more or less the supplier, but I would be the front end and basically control pricing, service, market delivery, all of those things. So, my sister sometimes talks about it like it was kind of like a Jerry Maguire moment for me. Like the industry was this way, and I got kind of fired up enough to say that I didn't like the way it was going, that I could build the business differently. And so, after, a Friday night of that kind of conversation with Kristin, I basically quit Monday, and I quit Monday with maybe 4 months of runway for income. So, like, I basically extended my line of credit on the house and, the credit cards. Wow. And then, negotiated a good contract with the supplier or the vendor to support me. And it's really just going to businesses one by one, saying, you're with a vendor today. We're going to show you, an advantage on price, product, and people, those 3 things, and you should move over. Right. And that's how it started. So really, like, you're talking about, like, the first month or after you get some customers, your revenue line is $67 for your first month. Right. I mean, but each month you just keep on acquiring more customers. So,
and how, talk to us about then, you sat there doing it and kind of going door to door. What was the moment where it really started to take off? And obviously, Chris, I'm interested in knowing, at what point did you decide to join the business? Like, did it, was this a rocket ship on day one, Ryan? Because clearly you're a good sales guy, right? Like I think it's one of the most underrated skills founders have, is this ability to sell. I mean, you're quite different in that sense, because you actually had this in the locker. You didn't have to learn to do it. You were probably a good salesman on day one, which probably gave you traction. But I'm interested in going, like, how quick, because you sold a year or 2 ago, so it's not like this business is going for 20 years. It's got a relatively short business. So something obviously happened in that time period. Maybe when Chris joined, everything changed.
I mean, I think honestly, when Ryan, he saw kind of what legs it had, and then he met a couple of individuals, other salespeople, and he thought, this could really, like, I could teach other people to do this and make a great livelihood. And then that's kind of where it got legs. Like, Ryan, started off renting a small little space. Actually, first it was in the house, then it was like a very small little place in an accounting firm. And Ryan's very,
where they don't talk.
He's a salesman. So of course he's going to be talking, and he's very boisterous and
So now
passionate.
they kicked me out of there,
You were
right?
like, this guy never shuts up.
Then I think at that point he thought, you know what, I could rent a small office. I think I could get other people to come on board, and really I could teach them what I know. I know so much because I worked in this space for so long. And I think that's kind of when it started to ramp up, and then it was getting really busy. We had other agents that we have great relationships with them, but they also, Ryan gave them skin in the game. It wasn't just about like paying them peanuts. It was like they really had a great opportunity, and they were loyal to us, and we were loyal to them. And then I think like when we had more people in there, of course I cared about Ryan. He's my husband. I love him. But when we have more people in this family, how do we make it? How do we build it? What processes do we need? What rules do we have to make sure we're following? All the things that you have to think about when running a business. Ryan's amazing at sales, and he could amazing at it. But like really, I think where I came on was when we started to get, one agent, two agents, and then we're boarding dozens of merchants a week, like dozens and dozens. And, so processes, administration, that's where I really started off with. And how do we scale this? That was always the thing we thought of.
I think a good way to think about this is, and it's, like Jeff Bezos talks about this, like, whether you have a missionary business or a mercenary business, right? And if you think about what fueled me enough to say, we have 4 kids and these commitments, and to quit to start this thing from nothing. Did nothing to do with building a multi-million-dollar business to exit. It had to do with, if you own a donut shop and your price of your donut is $2, and customers come in and they expect $2, and you come in the next day and it's $4, they can clearly make that decision. But in this industry, in the payment industry, because it's so convoluted, acquiring was basically making adjustments and changes to customers, and they don't know and they don't understand. So it just didn't sit well with me. And I think like that's what drove me to start it. And then what happens is those customers said they bought into that story and said, wow, you did this because of you're thinking about us. And then that created trust. And then that creates a funnel effect where like our distributors and our agents and salespeople, you're signing on to something that's bigger than yourselves. And Kristin really, she helped operationalize that into something that could scale. Otherwise, it would have been just
how did Chris know that? Chris, like what you obviously work in an insurance company, and you obviously brought and I know I'm going to talk about EOS because when we met in person, I think we were sat in the back of a bus, and I quite quickly worked out your husband and wife, and then one of you mentioned the visionary in the interview. I'm going to come back to that, but how did you have these skills to be able? It was interesting the language you used. I wanted to put the process about scale up. Like that's not someone working in an insurance company, but you obviously knew what you were doing. So where did that come from? Or did you always have a passion to do this type of thing as well?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is, I forget about it sometimes. This is the second business that I've owned. It's the second business I've rebranded. It's the second business that I've sold. So I was in business before. It was a small little business, like a beauty shop. But I think to Ryan's point of thinking about our customers and then bringing on agents, and then it grew to staff who all believed in the same thing and believing about let's do what's right for our customers, because it's like the long-term game, right? The longer we can keep our customers happy, the longer we're going to have them. And then as we're growing, we're retaining our customers. They're not leaving us. Plus we're growing more customers, and we're having more agents and more staff. I think that's where you just, again, it is like it's a group, it's a team, it's a company, yes, a family. How do we make sure that all of these people get what they need? So everybody.
That's so smart. And I love I'm going to say the simplicity of what you guys were doing, this customer-centric ethos, which drove kind of a belief through the system. And just again, from my understanding, so when you talk about agents, are these people that are going out selling this as an opportunity? Like these are salespeople, but if
No.
You sell the way. Okay, just so I want to understand the business. I understand how you made your money. Is it from the
So
end business?
what was unique with us in this particular model and how it worked is when I left Chase to start it, I had no one, but I had an amazing loyal base of customers over 10 years that I always took care of. So when they heard that I was leaving because I wanted to do something differently and build the company on transparency and ethics, a lot of them just started coming and saying, we're going to jump on, right? I didn't have to solicit them. They just said, where you're going. Like if I have a choice, if I'm going to choose to support JP Morgan Chase or Ryan O'Leary in Halifax, I'm going to choose him every day. And so that was fine to get to the point where I could pay the mortgage and the bills. And Kristin was still working at that point. But then we were talking about it and saying, well, like to scale this out, why don't we just create the same opportunity for other people? So, because it's a residual based income. So every customer you sign and every card that is swiped through the system, you're making 21 cents. So
I was going to ask you, like these, every transaction, you guys are making
something.
Imagine the subscription revenue starts. I don't know if we call it subscription revenue, but effectively
the residual income.
The
residual income grows over time. And of course, we were selling software like SaaS-based platforms at the same time that had embedded payments. But like, so what we did, and Kristin really helped materialize this, is, well, what's the best way to be able to scale out an external distribution model? Well, don't find anybody else that comes from payments because they already have bad habits. So what you should do is identify what like the mission, vision, and values of the business is, create that story, go to individuals that have these types of personality traits that, want to be able to break out on their own. And we had like kind of typecast them into these type of individuals, previous athletes. And
do the right thing when no one's watching.
Yeah. Love stuff. Yeah.
And then we went to those individuals and said, hey, do you want to do what I just did? And by the way, I'm going to teach you. And the market was thinking, well, we'll grab those guys and we'll only pay them 30%. We'll take 70.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. We didn't do that because it was about getting the mission, right? So what we did is we said, you come on, and then our initial agents will say, we're going to give you 65% of all the revenue. And then when you scale your business, we're going to dump it to 75. And when you scale it again, we're going to give you 85. We scaled the business to add those pieces, not because we needed so much the economic engine from them, but what we needed was like people in markets that were going to
buy in, the loyalty. Also just they were
building
driven and wow.
And then it becomes self-sustaining. And at the same time, we built an inside sales team because then we started having organic business that's coming from those markets, and we started making revenue on those.
Yeah. And I remember years ago, and I distinctly remember, I think it was just before we had kids, or maybe just after we had our first kid. I was in London with my wife, and I remember getting the document from the accountant from this, whatever financial year it was, probably 2012, 2013. And it was the first year where I remember looking at how much money we made. And I remember I had on my phone, I had the accounts, and I said, whatever the number, I was like, it made $100,000 this year. I was like, I can't believe we made this much money. It is like, how the hell is this? I'd came from I was making $30,000 a year or something. And my wife was like, my wife's a doctor, but in the UK, you don't get paid that well for being a doctor. Maybe she was in $30,000 a year or whatever. And I remember saying, I can't believe we've made, it was astonishing that. Then this was, thankfully that continued. So at what point in this journey were you guys sat at home being like, man, we are, because and I wrote down, Ryan, you guys are not like from mega wealth or anything like that. You said you lived in a small house, 4 kids. Nice part of the country.
Yeah, four bedrooms up with one
shower.
With one bathroom.
One shower, It's 1.5 baths.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the house you're in now, by the way, because that looks really nice. But and we're going to come back to that. What I'm interested in the and I founded my company in drove it. My wife was there all the way in, so I remember having that conversation. So I'm just interested, there must have been so many pinch me moments as you guys are either, whether it's in the kitchen or sat and having dinner together. Like, I'd love you just to talk about that, because I think it's lovely how you've described this mission driven
Yeah.
but it's so smart from an economical perspective. Like, I don't want to give you any, like, it was making money when you were asleep, and which is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when Ryan, wanted, and I said, yeah, I'll support you, like, that Friday, and then Monday he quit. Or, yeah, of course, we have family and friends that were really worried,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They
yeah.
knew we had 4 kids. They knew, our boys played hockey and all the things. Like, we have these commitments. Ryan's stepfather was worried. Everybody was worried. And, I really supported him. I knew he wasn't, if it failed, he'll go get another job. We'll be fine. But I think, like, to your question, to your point here, for us, like, watching it, the first month, right? What did we get paid? Like $15? And then, like, and seriously, and it's like, well, just keep going, and we're going to do this. So I think for us, I'm not sure if we don't really sit and talk a lot about. Of course, we're thankful for all the hard work that, that we've done, and the sacrifices that everybody's made in our family. I don't know if there's ever a moment, like, I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I learned, like, at a young age, maybe playing sports, playing football, and like, even really my stepdad, who actually worked in the business, and really it did become kind of a family business, because Kristin joined it. My sister in Vancouver left her business. She sold it, and then she joined it. My 85-year-old stepdad, who was an engineer by trade, who's retired, was working in this kind of full time, like, just still doing it. Like, but like, this idea about, like, the fundamentals, like, don't overcomplicate it. Like, this business is going to work because we have these differentiations that our market cannot say anything about it. And then I think you couple that in with, like, it was not glamorous. Like, success in sales it's not glamorous. Like, I'm talking about, like, when I left, making 100 cold calls on Monday to fill up appointments through the week, because you have no choice, because the revenues are so small. Your activity level has to be consistent. And I just believed, like, if you just keep on doing that, it's like if you someone says go to the gym. Well, if you go to the gym every single day and you do this repeatedly, it will compound over time.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and I think, like, obviously we watched our monthly income grow, and, in some ways, like, to your point, like, when you look at that, like, wow, this is crazy. And there were moments of that where you're like, wow, this is insane. But also, too, what was really cool was we had this incredible team. Like, we had staff and agents, and we had this incredible team that was helping us, right? We could never have done it without them. I think that for me was more like, yes, the money is nice because your bills are paid, but really the ultimate, like, win is to have this group of people that are on this same mission. And we all, like, it was just, I think for me that was like a wow moment, like a pinch me moment, to be honest.
I love it. I can just imagine, like, kind of like, and I love the family members getting involved and everyone everyone jumping in as the business is growing. So, okay, so let me just so you built this fantastic business, kind of residual platform that's, kicking off money, very clear, compelling differentiators, but that's true to your mission as well. So it was benefiting not just you guys, but it was benefiting the agents, the team, family members, and it was a bit of a win-win. So talk to us about then when you decided to sell the business, what was, it's funny because part of me thinks, like, were you conflicted because of the mission, because of it's funny, he's shaking his head and you're nodding, which is hilarious. We're not going to go, but I'll get both your perspectives. Or was there just, like, I call it like a stars aligning moment, right? Like, where the market's there, you guys personally, the business is in good shape. Like, there can be this moment where it's like, this seems like a good time. So talk to us, because presumably by this point as well, whether it's a financial impact or a family impact, you're seeing the impact across the board, and this thing's really changed your life in the last 7 or 8 years. So I'm interested to know what comes next.
I think, like, the perspective we'll both have kind of unique perspectives, but I think if I was to kind of guess, like, even thinking, Kristin, she's the maternal instinct for not only like for all of our family and everybody else and all those people that were there. Like she's thinking about them. For me, when now that we've exited and we're out, like I have more time to actually think about it. I've always been the kind of individual that if I did something, I just could not stop. Like some entrepreneurs or founders talk about this, like it's an itch that won't go away, but it becomes all consuming. And so the same like passion and desire I had to get that business going and to scale it through is ultimately what caused it to burn out, right?
Yeah.
So great founders reach a point where they become somewhat more self-aware and they understand that they need to do that. Whereas what happened for me is I reached this point where it's like, I don't think I have any more in the tank. Like I wanted to try to do it this way or that way. And we had great people, but I was,
burnt out almost about it. It's really interesting to say that, Ryan. It's been in all the interviews we've done so far, it's been a very common theme that there's a moment in time and what's really fascinating is it seems to become, and this is not, I'm not quoting it, but it seems to come between 6 and 10 years, right? There's on the interviews I've done, there's one exception, which was 20 years, but of all the interviews I've done, like 6 to 10 years when you're going full pelt, right? And like for me personally, for example, like the first few years, it was just me freelancing with a couple of people. 2013 was when it really went at it, and then we sold in 21, so like again into that 10-year mark. So it's fascinating to hear. Did you find that like the joy was coming out of it and being consumed? And Chris, what was your perspective on this as well? I loved, were you feeling?
I think on it, I think I was much the same. We've recently just chatted about it very recently. Like, what if we just took like a 6-month hiatus? Maybe we just needed a break, right? How would things be different? So I think, because we have a family and of course we're committed to them, but then you have this business who is its own ecosystem that you have to be invested in.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of time. Of course, doing it with the person you spend all of your other time with is nice because you trust each other implicitly, but then it becomes kind of like that's all we're doing, is the business. I think like it was becoming so big that it's either you need to get people that are much, much more talented than you to run it, to go with it.
Yeah.
Or, there's lots of things. We hummed and hawed. We had many great conversations with one of our good friends who was who worked with us, helped us. Really, we didn't just take this lightly to sell. We modeled it. We modeled everything out. Whether we stayed on. We brought in new people. We had our family run it. Like all the things. And what we chose was the right decision for us. Yeah.
Talk to us about what you chose.
For your listeners and for entrepreneurs out there, like I think one of the things that we did is how we built the business. We intentionally did the process to sell it properly. And what that means is we were 2.5 years prior. Like there were a lot of things that were done and we had some really strong people around us, and getting offsetting opinions.
Accountants, lawyers, everybody.
So if I've understood correctly, you've almost like you knew that was going to happen, and you almost prepared the business for like whether. Do you mind talking a bit for like what did you do? Like clean books, for example, hire more people. Like what kind of things?
So like I think the business, for like a 20-person business, the efficiency and the systems that were established by Kristin, like, made the business, like even from the at the end and the inquiring, when they came in to do due diligence, it was like we were done in 30 days. It was
wow.
Like, it was just, there was no, it was just clean, right? So I would say like credit to Kristin because a lot of those structures were already in, systems were already established. I would just say like we had developed a relationship with somebody, that works in fintech. That's, more of a boutique M&A firm
Yeah.
that we had established, through conferences and built a relationship. And it was always staying in touch with what was going on and say, when you're ready, we're ready to go. And I think like the telltale for me and what happened, it wasn't just about burnout. It was also about like, as an example, if you take a small business and you say, hey, your rate is 1.5%, and a competitor comes in and they say, it's 1.3%. If you're processing, doing the business on pricing and these types of things, it gets quite easy. What we started seeing happening is your competitor now was no longer the other guy that was coming in to offer better service or better processing. It was a technology vendor that would come in and say, I'm not even going to be 1.5, I'm going to be 2.5, but my software is going to solve all of these problems for your business. Like that was a battle that you're not going to win if you don't own your own thing. So,
So you almost like what got you to this point wasn't going to get you where the industry was headed.
Where you needed to be.
Yeah.
Scale the business.
And so this banker did a good job on you, by the way. That's what these guys do. Your own tricks against you, Ryan. It's good business development, right? Just staying in touch and bumping into you at these conferences. I mean, my banker did exactly the same. He's one of my closest friends now. Okay, so you built this fantastic business, and then when you ran the process, I'm assuming the banker then ran a bit of a process. Did they have an idea? Like, I'm interested, like, did you have an idea who would be interested in the business versus their idea? Was there an overlap, or were they very clear on who they saw as the acquirer?
He did a really good job, because the thing is we were a Canadian-based, bootstrapped, business that, like had an excellent rule of 40, like you're like in the like 60, like we'd still had positive top line and EBITDA growth.
Fantastic.
All the way through. And so it wasn't really in a declining situation. And then we were in Canada, right? So he's obviously in the US. We looked at Canadian potential buyers, and what we were going to, get with a Canadian buyer would probably be more of the, we'll gobble you up, give you shares, come in to make your thing. Like, we knew that there's no way that was going to happen. Our advisor was obviously in the US, and he basically kind of said, we've done the sim, like this is what it is. All these companies know you because you've come down to the US, you have some customers in the US, you're at the shows, you've built a solid reputation in the industry. We're going to do this. We're not going to take you out. I'm going to take this sim and I'm going to strategically send it to 5.
Okay, so very targeted.
Five ones that we think will be best for you.
Interesting.
And we won't let anybody else know. And he sent those out, and then I would say probably within a week we had LOIs from 4 of the 5.
Wow!
Like all coming in.
Phenomenal.
And
how did that feel? Talk to me about the dinner table chat when you guys are sat there. And also, did you show the kids this? I mean, I'm assuming not. I know your kids are older than mine, but I remember getting LOIs, and my wife and I said, we just like, I can't believe someone's.
Yeah,
we've built this thing, and was it staggered? Like, I'm clearly not asking about the numbers. That's not what this is about. But like, just the conversation.
Honestly, we didn't really talk to the kids about it, and they would hear us obviously around the dinner table all the time talking about business. They would know our staff by first name because we would talk about them and whatever else. But we didn't really talk about this with the kids around them because it wasn't. Sure. We didn't want. Our staff didn't know.
Yeah.
No one knew.
Just no one knew about it. Yeah. So how was your conversation? And when you would get these LOIs, like talking to me, like we were like looking at each other and what the heck, this is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was, again, like when you think back to when it first started, and it's not why we started it. We really wanted to be like, every customer that needs to process payments should be doing business with us because we're going to take care of them. They can trust us. So it's like, I don't know. It was kind of flabbergasting, I guess.
Yeah.
We don't get too excited about that. Like we don't get excited about money or all the things. Doesn't bring us joy. But it is still, to your point, it was kind of like, wow, this is crazy. Started from nothing, negative, right?
Yeah.
Line of credit, like it was negative.
I think the cool thing is to be able to have the ability to start a business where you don't need to take capital, like we could have
started with nothing.
but we chose specifically not to, to be able to do it in this way. So it really just got to a matter of saying, hey, is this number enough? And the LOIs came in and they were competitive. They looked great.
Was the structure all the same? Because I know, did any of them want to?
Pretty much, a large percentage up front, and then, an earnout. And some of those earnouts were tied into kind of more time or investing, forward. We were like, we're really going, in my mind, it was going from Chase back to Chase again. So it was like, I don't want to be in a position,
I didn't,
where I want to take equity in the second time. I think what was important for us also in making the determination was those agents and those people that we had, like those people, those contractors, those are individual subcontracted agents that are running their own businesses that we were, rev sharing. We needed to do something that also took care of them as well. And so we were thinking about how do we best take care of the staff and our agents. And fortunately, we had one offer or one come in late that came in at a good valuation that allowed us to do those types of things, to say yes. So
okay, very good. Why did they? I think you mentioned before. You were profitable, solid revenues, year-on-year growth. What else made this like a really attractive business for these buyers? Was it the plug and play? Was it the staff? Was it the model? Like, just again for our listeners, was it they could buy this and just plug it into the mothership, so to speak?
I think that's a great question. I think the answer is kind of easier to say, oh, you know what? Like, it's an established engine with relationships that will continue to grow, that is aligned to our business, that, and really private equity would back, because the company that bought us was private equity backed, would say, oh, we can just inject cash and more resources to be able to scale it out. Like in theory, on paper, that's what it looked like. But, I have to say, kind of coming after now, like after the earnout period and all of that, I can't help to think that sometimes that they're really just driven by the EBITDA, right? They're driven by and if you're in an acquiring business that really needs to drive its growth based on acquisition, it becomes more simplified, even though we kind of think like our business was more complex, right?
But I do think, to your point, we had great people, we had the systems. It really was plug and play. It could have ran itself. Rhino could have actually taken a 6-month hiatus.
Yeah.
And it would have just continued to do what it does. So I think it was,
and I think that was indicative in the earnout, right? Because
so
we after we sold, we had to grow EBITDA by 20% in 1 year, and the business, I was like starting to check out, and Kristin was still in there, and the business just fired on all cylinders and continued and hit the number, right?
Yeah.
So
well done on that, and that leads me nicely on to the kind of final section. What an amazing journey, by the way. I just want to pause at this point and be like, from 2016, taking that decision, which I'm sure family and friends being, what the hell's going on? Obviously, Chris joining the business with the family members, building a great business, and then it sounds like you timed your deal well in terms of the market and valuations and stuff like that. And you mentioned then an earnout, which I'll not go into too much deal, but effectively you did it. You guys between you did a year or so, and I think I met you guys in person around the time you were finishing that earnout. And so, what does life, Kristin? I think you finished the earnout after Ryan.
I was there for 17 months. Yeah,
17 months. Good. Well, so I don't want to probably go into the detail about the earnout in terms of how was it. You said you met your numbers, which is great. What I want to know what it looked like afterwards, right? You'd spent the best part of a decade working together as well as living together. The kids have obviously got a bit older in that time period. What was the day after and the weeks after when, Kristin, you kind of free from the shackles, so to speak? Like, were you like, what the hell do we do now? And I kind of know the answer to this because obviously, Ryan, you and I met originally in like you had this bigger plan, which I think is amazing. So this might be a good juncture. And I do want to come back to EOS, by the way, because you two are like, I don't know if you read EOS or did you put EOS system in place, but like you are the absolute archetypal, like,
Yes.
visionary in integrators. I just wonder, and it worked so well for your business. Like, you can see it in everything you've shared today.
Yeah. And the only comment I would say about that is, a visionary and integrator, don't get us wrong. Like we're married. Tension, like, a relationship that really is working well, like when there are
tension points. Yeah.
And that's really what happened. A lot of those things
in the beginning, I would say in the first quarter of the business, there were certainly times because, but we worked through that. And yeah, we definitely work well when we don't always agree or see eye to eye.
Yeah.
I think too, like when you ask about how it was like when after we sold or after the earnout, because we kind of finished at different times, there was a lot of emotions. I even just said to Ryan recently, it's amazing that because I stayed on longer and so he was done, but I would go to the office every day. And it was kind of amazing that didn't break us.
Did you feel resentful in any way? Did you feel like,
I
oh
did.
my God. You did. Oh, interesting. I would have thought you were. I thought Chris would be like, oh my God, Brian, you sat in the bed doing nothing all day.
I did.
Yeah, Ryan felt more like, I can't. You're going back there. What about me? But it was part of my duty and what I had to do. Now that we're both out, I'm only 3 months out. I'm still trying to figure it out. Obviously Christmas was nice and. We're into February, almost March. So I think like getting into new routines and still being focused on what else we're working on and what else we want to accomplish. Still, being happy and healthy and making good choices, right? Like this is our, yeah.
And you kind of in that partially honeymoon period still, but also now probably more into the, okay, what do we do next? Messy middle. And for some people, they can find this bit a bit difficult potentially. But you guys, I think you have the benefit of being together and working through this together. It's not like you're doing this alone, which might have been part of the success of the business, I suspect, as well. That tension, Ryan, you explained probably led to better decision making, better outcomes that ultimately led to a fantastic journey. So how are you guys thinking about, and I'm going to come back to the kids in a minute because I think that's a really interesting topic as well. But how are you thinking about what's next? And Ryan, you were kind enough to share like a model that you guys have been building to think about this, which again I think is so helpful for people navigating what you guys are going through.
Yeah, I think like a big driver also like kind of wanting to be able to get out of this was another chapter. So like, I was kind of born and raised as a sailor. I'm from Nova Scotia. I used to sail all the time. It's kind of the one place for me that, like, being out in the ocean, with not a lot of people, I like it out there. Like, I like the peace of it. But and we sailed as a family, but like when the business started, we had a boat, like a 30-foot boat, and it just stayed in its cradle. We never launched it for like 5 years. Like we never sailed. We never did anything. So when I started Sona and left, I started following this event called the Oyster Around the World Rally. This is a planned event that happens every 2 years. It's a brand of a boat called Oyster. 30 boats leave together from Antigua on a full circumnavigation around the planet over 17 months, 27,000 nautical miles, 27 supported stops. And I was like, even before I started, I was like, I want to do this. And in our wedding vows, when we got married 19 years ago, I said, we're going to sail around the world.
Actually, I think I said it, which is even maybe more meaningful.
Yeah. Honey, we are going to sail around the world. Oh, it's amazing. So you basically have got, and so, and we talked about this when we met, but I remember you telling me this story. Like, so when does it start? Do you take the kids or is this just you guys? How does it work?
Well, the kids are all now, like our oldest now still like it was running Sona. He's still in that position. So he came into
Wow.
business right out of high school and he worked through that. And our other son is, he's in the Isle of Wight right now at the UK Sailing Academy, on a boat, taking a 17-week course to get his yachtmaster designation. He wants to do a career and like potentially be as a captain. And our girls like
Starting university.
yeah, starting university
Okay,
soon,
okay,
so
yeah.
they're kind of being
They're doing sailing as well or something like, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, entrepreneurs and sailors, it sounds like.
yeah. I mean, so we're to do this. This is January 16th, 2028 is when it happens.
Wow.
So we're in the process of buying the oyster that we need to buy, and that's a process. And I've been digging hard into that, and then obviously just the logistics and the planning and preparation to do a trip of that size.
Wow.
Is it's a lot, right? So I think like
it's amazing. What comes after the trip? So when the trip is done, is there now another? Because that's the realization of the dream, right?
Right.
So and I don't want to. I'm not poo-pooing. This is amazing, by the way, but it's a kind of classic. You get to the end of the rainbow, you get the pot of gold or whatever. Which this is assuming, of course, like God forbid, like safe, successful travel around the world. It sounds amazing, and hopefully the kids can come and see you at one of these points as well. But what happens after that? Have you given it much thought yet?
I mean, I don't think we really know. I mean, it could go lots of ways. It could be like, wow, we don't want to leave this boat. This is our home now. Sell our land house and live on a boat. Maybe we'll give up on sailing and just, want to live on land for a while. It's hard to know. I think, again, I think we'll have to look back on the pillars of like thinking about our family and again, doing the right thing when no one's watching and living life. I think for me, I don't know what that looks like yet. Because we have so much work to get to do this, this sail around the world. It could go a number of ways. We have started a foundation. We hope to spend more time on that once we're back from the big journey. We'll have some time on our hands. So hopefully, we'll put that to good use. And
what is the foundation? What's the aim of the foundation or the mission, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, for sure. So it's called the Curram Foundation, which is...
It means care in
Irish. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it really is focused on the unhoused as well as youth at risk. Okay. So that's really where our focus is. So we haven't really spent a lot of time on that because, again, like anything, when we do something, really want to do it the right way and do it well and kind of jump all in.
But I love it because you've got this this next project on the horizon when this one's done, and like that's not a small undertaking of creating and supporting a foundation, and good on you guys for doing it. So that's amazing, and we kind of wish you all the success. My final question is about the kids, and you guys strike me as very humble, very moral, like you said, like do the right thing, like you. And having met you are very genuine, lovely people, and I think Ryan, you mentioned earlier on about modest environment for your kids to grow up, and now you, whatever way you look at it, you've been propelled into a new financial arena, and it's something I think about all the time. And my kids are younger than yours, so it's probably a different conversation, but like thinking about making sure they still have the same work ethic and drive, and they're not entitled or spoiled and all this type of stuff. Like, so I'm just interested how much time you think about that. Or I know your kids are a bit older, so maybe it doesn't. Maybe it impacts them more because they're kind of like at a more impressionable age. I'm just interested in how you're thinking about that or talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with, we have 4 kids and they range from 16 to 27. I think the girls, they're younger. They're in grades 11 and 12. They've really, their whole upbringing was us running this business. And then they know we sold, they know we're like retired or whatever we want to call it. But we don't put a lot of focus on things and what that person doesn't have or that person does have. They are still need to get an education, and they want to, right? And if they want to, be an artist, or they want to, be a teacher or whatever it is. Like, I think it has opened up doors or opportunities, I guess, for our kids. And I think just being around us, I think, we do have good morals, and everybody is yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm answering the question.
I think like also just to add to what Kristen's saying, like, I mean, our kids would remember, going out to dinner and then me like not being able to pay attention and looking at the debit machine because I wanted to switch the customer. Like, I think what they have learned from both of us is that we've worked really hard, right? And so those lessons, like, I see them applying like themselves and saying, well, our parents worked really, really hard to make this happen. Because if you think in the broad scope of things, this is just an 8-year run.
Yeah.
Up to 8 years ago, it was like we were all in this little house.
Yeah.
I think too, they probably remember, the simpler things, but I don't, having to, oh geez, I can't afford all these groceries. I have to put this back. That happened. And that's fine. That happens to lots of people.
Families,
And, I think to stay humble and grateful and, actually one of our children, we built this house 6 years ago, a long time ago now. And he, he's pretty thankful because he, at an age, he's 24 now. So he can see it. Like, he gets it.
Yeah.
I think he's the one that kind of is like, wow, look what you've done.
Yeah.
You did.
That's amazing. You should be, you should be so proud of what you've achieved as a couple, as a family, as a businessman. Like, it's genuinely awesome. And what a story. And thanks for obviously coming on the podcast and sharing the story, sharing the learnings, being so open and honest as well. Like, I think, your answer there about the kids thing is really interesting, Kristin, because it is difficult, right? There isn't a right or wrong. There's just this is what I think. And, I remember someone said to me years ago, like, if your kids see you working hard, like, that's a good starting point, right? Like, and that will stay with them. And I think about like my dad, when mum and dad used to go, they ran a post office. So every day, and I remember coming back from weddings or parties or whatever, and I get up at like 12 o'clock and be like, where's my dad went to? Oh my God, as if he had to get up at 7 o'clock and go to the post office. But like, and it drives you, like, and I see those habits now. And so, yeah, you're obviously giving your kids an amazing upbringing and you have the means to do more now. And yeah, I'm super excited to see what happens next. And we wish you, I'm going to come to Nova Scotia. I'm going to have to come and hang out with you guys at some point in time and see this boat. Yeah. God, I'm not a great swimmer, so that always worries me.
Well, we don't go swimming, we go sailing.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I'm always a bit wary of that, but that's very kind. Thank you so much. And look, when you're in Toronto, you're going to have to come and hang out. Yeah, I invited you obviously to one of the PF events if it ever works out for you guys. But sure. Thanks so much for sparing some time on your birthday as well, man. That's awesome, Ryan, and sharing this time. I hope it's been worthwhile for you. But I'm excited. I hope our listeners and viewers have taken so much from today's interview.
Good. Yeah, thanks for having us.